I heard about the show. I just thought like it's just same story retold.
Yeah, for sure.
Pretty life-changing.
Yeah.
I figured if we talk about it and share why it's life-changing, it's not just another Jesus movie or show. Maybe someone who's on the fence will actually give it a shot and watch it.
Make the time for it.
Life can be better, and it starts right now with you.
Hey friends, welcome back to your Good Life Now podcast. I am your host, Frankie Martinez, and as promised, I have two very special guests with me, and they are so special to me because they are actually my daughters. So please welcome to the podcast for the first time in history, my oldest daughter, Cynthia, and she is an amazing hairdresser. Does amazing work. I can't stop hearing the raves from all your clients. Yeah. So say hello, Cynthia.
Hi. So fun and so exciting.
Yes, I'm glad you're here. And my other daughter, Giselle, and she is an amazing, not only social media manager, but content creator. And she does a lot of work for other businesses that are amazing, but she also helps me out. And she actually did a lot for the podcast. She designed the logo for the podcast, a lot of the original artwork she did for the podcast, and she's going to be helping me a lot with this podcast. So welcome, Giselle.
Hi, it's so good to finally be on here.
It's been a while.
Finally, it's been a while. I've been behind the scenes.
Yes, you have. But I'm so glad that my daughters are here with us. Both of you are here. And the reason I have you guys on here is because today we are talking about the TV show called The Chosen. And The Chosen is a very amazing show that our family, we all just fell in love with. We all fell in love with. And I had an idea to just have you guys on here just to talk about it. Just to talk about it with me. I wanted to talk about the show The Chosen, and I know this isn't like trending right now because it's not a brand new show. Yeah. It's on season 3, but I don't know. For me, like the main reason I want to talk about it is because I heard about the show. Yeah. You know, from a couple pastors, a couple friends of mine. Have you seen The Chosen? Have you seen Chosen? I go, no, I haven't seen it yet. Mm-hmm. And honestly, like I knew one day I'd probably watch it, but it wasn't like on my big high profile list because I don't know. It's just like in my head, it's just another like Bible movie, which isn't
Jesus
bad.
remake kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And Passion of the Christ is amazing. Probably the greatest movie about the crucifixion. The Bible TV series, remember that one?
Yeah, that one was good.
We watched that one too.
Yeah.
And that one was exciting. So I don't know. I just thought like it's the same story retold.
Yeah.
Obviously, we finally give it a chance because of TikTok.
Yeah.
I was I was on TikTok, and this little clip that I showed you guys came on, and man, this clip was so touching to me. I mean, no joke. Okay, I'll be all honest. I was like crying when this clip came on. I was crying, and it was just, I don't know if it was the right timing, but this clip I showed on TikTok, and I'll try to put a link to it in the description for people because I can't put it on our video for copyright reasons. But it's about Jesus talking about do not worry about this or that. Your Father knows what you need, and then it has this music but when I saw that clip, I'm like, I have to watch the show because it touched me so much. The clip touched me so much that I'm like, I have to watch the show because something about the way Jesus, the actor who plays Jesus, the way he talked and the way he looked and his face was just so, I don't know, to me, it was so touching and moving. And then it showed like the disciples he was talking to. It just rocked me. And I literally like, I came home that day from work and I'm like, guys, we got to watch The Chosen. We got to watch The Chosen.
Yeah.
So that's the main reason that I wanted to watch it. And because of that, I know a lot of people personally that we hung out with last week. I asked, have you watched The Chosen? They're like, no, I haven't got around to it. That's why we're doing this podcast.
Yeah,
for sure.
Pretty life-changing.
Yeah.
So that I figured if we talk about it and share why it's life-changing, it's not just another Jesus movie or show. Yeah. It was very professionally done. And so if we share maybe all of us a little bit about why we like it and why our family fell in love with it, maybe someone who's on the fence will actually give it a shot and watch it.
Make the time for it.
So, I mean, I could talk about forever, about so many things, but I don't know. For just start with you, Giselle.
Yeah. Let's start with me. Well, the reason I really liked it a lot was, like you said, we already watched a lot of, already Jesus shows and movies and stuff like that. But I think the cool part was adding the perspective and adding like depth and background to all of the disciples, which I never saw before. But obviously, I grew up hearing all these stories about the miracle stories and just hearing about the disciples and seeing their names in the Bible and reading about them and everything. But you'd never got to visualize the disciples as much as we got to visualize
people. It makes
because in all of the movies and shows, we see Jesus like, oh, we know what he looks like. We know how he acts. We didn't see Peter. We didn't see Judas. We didn't see Matthew. We didn't see any of that. So just adding that little character development just really brought it to life. That's why I liked it a lot. Yeah.
It gives the disciples personality.
Yeah.
Like it makes you fall in love.
It makes sense with their actions and the way that they spoke. Like in the Bible it says, oh, Peter said, and then, just putting a face to it.
The fact that he cut someone's ear off. It's like, oh, now
it makes
has
sense.
some anger, things in there. It's like, we know his temperament and stuff now. It wasn't just out of nowhere. Like, why did he do that? It's like, no.
And it's so beautifully written where you can see that.
Yeah.
You can see his temperament throughout everything, and it's not that he has anger issues.
He's not.
It's just.
I think that's what I used to think. I'm like, dang, Peter was like this angry disciple.
Yeah.
But no, he was honestly just really, really passionate.
Yeah.
He was super passionate.
I mean, just to show they got personality. Who's your favorite disciple? Based off the show.
Oh no.
Oh my gosh.
I like them
You
all.
put me on the spot here.
I would probably say Peter.
I was gonna.
For me.
I like Peter.
Peter and Matthew.
Okay, I was gonna say Matthew. I like Matthew. I think because he was like the outcast and the outsider, and it took him. I mean, even still at the end of season 3, he's still trying to fit in with the disciples, and they're still not totally accepting him.
Yeah,
and I think that just shows you can literally come from anywhere, and it's always you're still gonna hit stuff, where people aren't gonna like you or accept you, but he's still there. He's still passionate. He knows that Jesus sees him, that Jesus is using him, and wants him there. So I think it's really cool to see that.
And I think what's cool is obviously it's as biblical as they can make it.
Yeah.
But they have to add character to make it
They're
real
human.
because the Bible, it doesn't give so many details about each disciple. But what I love about what you were saying about Matthew, how he was the outcast and he was kind of having trouble fitting in with the other disciples.
Yeah.
Well, it's beautiful because it ties in with what the Bible says.
Yeah.
That he was a tax collector.
Yeah.
So I love that because you reread it in the Bible. We see all the disciples, Peter was a fisherman. Matthew was a tax collector. We see all that. But the show really illustrates what we read in a sentence. Matthew was a tax collector. Well, tax collectors were hated. They were not liked. They were not accepted. And we see that through the disciples.
Yeah.
We see them struggle accepting him as a part of the disciples, where actually him and Peter and a few other people, they go at it, because they just don't accept. So I think that's what makes the show so beautiful is that
it shows the reality part of it, the more relatable part. It's okay, it wasn't all picture perfect. Just because you follow Jesus, everybody loved you.
Yeah.
Everybody got along.
yeah.
It was always.
I think that's why it's so relatable. It's kind of like us putting our shoes into being a disciple. That's kind of what we're supposed to be doing in these days.
Yeah.
But it's just of course, not only the the tough times that they are with Jesus, even though we're not, Jesus isn't here with us, but I mean we still could relate to a lot of the things that they go through.
Yeah, and I also feel because they're adding so much depth to these disciples, you could kind of see yourself in that shoes.
Exactly.
So you could see yourself almost when you're watching it and you see the disciples going through something, or you see the behind the scenes of how they're treating somebody or how he's receiving a word from Jesus. It's you almost put yourself in those shoes. It's that's what Jesus would tell me if I he was here and I obviously I'm following him. That's kind of the word he would give me too, So I think that's really cool.
Super touching. But I mean, like I said, I think it's beautiful how they're illustrating. It gives us a reality of what it was probably like being with them. Matthew being a tax collector, we read over that in one sentence. And it's like, this is what it was really probably like.
Yeah.
Right.
Because he was a tax collector, which I never thought about that.
Yeah.
But I love that. He's one of my favorite characters
Yeah.
because just watch the show. If you
Yeah, like just
haven't
watch
watched
it.
please,
You'll understand
promise me.
more. It's like, why do you
Promise
like
me.
the tax
Just-
collector so
okay,
much?
but before we go on, if you are going to watch the show, I think we need to recommend that the first episode isn't the best.
Yeah.
Maybe we were just getting used to it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it takes like any show, it takes like the first 1 to 2 episodes to really get in the rhythm as to how they're talking, how the story goes, what to expect pretty much in episodes.
Yeah. And I don't know. Maybe.
The first one was with Mary, right?
Yeah, but it just wasn't.
It had to set the tone.
It
kind
set
of.
the tone. It wasn't like after watching the first one, it didn't make me like, I can't wait to watch the next one.
Yeah.
Right.
It just made me be like, that was cool.
Yeah.
Let's give it one more chance. And then the second one, oh my gosh, it's just forget it. From that,
Oh, we were crying.
I know.
We were tearing up.
Oh,
and it continues. So you need to
Right.
watch the first one. But if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, okay, I'm going to give it a shot, and you watch the first episode and say, nah, it's not what I'm into, just give it another chance. Watch the second one, and I guarantee after the second episode, you're going to be hooked. Because we could not wait. Luckily, we had just watched it this year, so we were able to binge watch seasons 1, 2, and 3. Now we're like,
now
starving.
we're stuck. We're stuck waiting for the next one.
Definitely start.
for the next one. But so many great details of that episode. So, favorite disciples. You didn't share your favorite disciple.
No.
Well, I think my favorite is the one that is a bit of a reflection of myself because we have the same, like, how do you say, like we're, we have the same little passion and fire because we're very passionate for what is right.
Yeah.
And kind of blunt, and we need to have, anyways, it's Peter.
Yeah.
He definitely is like
Yeah.
action driven.
Yeah,
So.
he is, and he
So,
gets impatient about
yeah.
that. But I mean, he's also a great leader in there, and that's
Yeah.
what Jesus actually. I can't wait to see the future episodes
Yeah.
because Jesus relies on him to lead and stuff like that. So, but it's great. It's good to see his struggles, even some of the struggles he goes through. Like I said, not everything may be in the Bible, but just it's great to see the struggles. They build stories behind the stories in the Bible that kind of helps us feel that out, and I think that was cool. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
definitely.
we're gonna go into one of our. Let's each share one of our favorite moments from The Chosen, and it's really hard. It's really
is
hard.
Hard. I had
gosh.
like 5 stories for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, this could be a 5-hour podcast. Should it be? Maybe we should make it a 5. No.
Well,
2 parts
upon
coming
request.
soon.
Maybe part 2.
I know.
Upon request with other guests who are
Yeah.
Yeah.
passionate about the show too.
For real. Share this with people who haven't watched The Chosen. But anyways, there are too many stories because there's so. I mean, I cried like so many times. Almost every episode.
Yeah.
It was just so touching. So I don't know. Maybe I won't go first. I'll let you guys go first.
I went first with the
Okay,
disciples.
you
so.
go first.
Go ahead.
Oh my gosh, there's so many.
Maybe one of them. Yeah.
I know. Keep it short, probably. Well, probably the bleeding woman, because she, I think she even told the disciples that ran into her. She's like, "So all I need is just to touch his garment." So from the start, she knew, like, it was just faith. That's
Yeah.
all that she had. And of course, throughout the whole crowd, Jesus was like, "Who touched me?" Like,
Yeah.
everyone was touching him, but he
Yeah.
was like, "No, there was one who touched me." And she said that before. All I need to do is touch his garment.
Yeah, and that's already such an impactful like story in the Bible.
Yeah.
But to see the background of it, like
Yeah.
just like because obviously in the episode they show her like going through the town and trying to just like do things, make money on her own, and then
Just to
they,
live.
like throw her out of the
She's
city
getting
and
shunned.
everything.
She's
Yeah.
getting shunned
Yeah,
because of
and they
her.
wouldn't even let her in there, and yet she went through the crowd and everything. And
Yeah, she didn't care.
Yeah.
I think when you're in a desperate position and you know that the answer is like right there, God.
Yeah.
She just went for it. She just went
Yeah.
through the crowd,
Yeah.
touching people bleeding, and
Yeah.
she's like grabbed his little tassel.
yeah,
And,
and she knew. Yeah,
that was great.
yeah.
It was so beautifully done too. So well produced, where you feel the emotion, like you said, of her.
Yeah.
I remember her and Peter's wife were
Yeah.
at the water.
Yeah.
She was
Yeah.
washing, and then we didn't know who she was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We see her washing these bloody garments, and I thought, did she kill someone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who is this lady? Why is she off with these bloody garments?
Yeah.
and she's just washing her clothes, and it was very sad. So, I mean, it's emotional because you just see she's so desperate to find Jesus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even when the crowd recognized her, they're like, "Get away! You can't get
Right.
here!" And she just she went for
Yeah.
it. You know?
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was definitely touching. Definitely touching.
Yeah.
How about you?
I would say mine was probably like the one with like the first miracle was when he was preaching in the house, and then they obviously the one was with bringing the friend down on the mat so that he could get up and walk, and that was like the first time he did the miracle, and the Pharisees saw, and it was like all crazy, and they're running away. I thought it was just super cool because
Yeah.
obviously I always loved that story, and
Yeah.
so just seeing it like there, and then seeing the friends that brought him, and then they're like against like, oh, it's like your faith has healed him, you know, like talking to the friend, which is also important. It's like your circle's important because his friends brought him to get his
Yep.
miracle.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
if your
Friend
friends
is gonna
aren't, if your
break a roof
friends
for me.
aren't carrying you to get your
Yeah.
miracle, get new friends. I'm just saying.
If your friends won't lower you down.
I know if they won't
Count us
carry your
feeling.
mat, carry
so
you.
touching.
Yeah.
I just love to see that one because I don't think I'd ever seen it in a different movie or show.
No, and I think that's what you were saying earlier is that we see a lot of shows about Jesus, and Jesus is the center of the show, and he's kind of the center of the show right now, but he has equal importance as the disciples. I think that's why it's
They have like
called,
equal screen time.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's called The Chosen because it's supposed to be about the disciples.
Yeah.
And so they just finished season 3. There's supposed to be 7 seasons. So
Amazing.
even after Jesus dies and resurrects, it's going to continue with
That's gonna
just
be
the disciples.
Intense.
Which is crazy because we've never seen that side, and I'm excited. 'cause,
I
I always
know.
wondered what is it like
Yeah.
for them, you know?
It's
Once he left.
it's so good. It's so good. Okay, well, probably one of my most touching ones. It's hard to pick. It's because I'm seeing all these images come to my mind, but it's probably James, little James.
We love little James.
So there's two.
was
There's big James and little James. But dude, what about the Sons of Thunder? That scene.
They're nice.
That's
they're
just so
funny. They're-
amazing. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
Jesus, there's another time where they're about to lose their temper, and Jesus goes, "We don't need thunder today, guys."
Yeah.
I think
Which is good because Jesus specified, oh yeah, we want to use your thunder,
Yeah.
but when the time comes,
Yeah.
like the time has to be right.
Yeah,
So-
literally.
Oh man, it's great, and I don't know. I think like Jesus in the show, it just draws you closer to God. To me, it draws me closer to God. It just watching the show makes me just want to talk to God a lot more.
Yeah.
Be in His presence a lot more, and that's why we're talking about the podcast. Talking about it on the podcast is that it just really just makes me fall in love with Jesus deeper. I think and just to see the way He might have been, the way He might have walked with
Yeah.
it, and I love the way He talked with His disciples, and He wasn't with them the whole time.
Yeah.
He sent them out to do things, which leads me to my story of James. And in this touching moment with James is Jesus had
We need
met
tissue.
with the
I'm just
disciples. Was that?
Do we need tissue?
No.
I'm
But
joking.
Jesus, okay, so Jesus meets with His disciples and says, "You guys are going to go out. You guys are going to heal the sick." See, I'm already getting emotional. Just joking. I needed water. But anyway, so Jesus tells them, you're going to go out, you're going to heal the sick, you're going to cast out demons, and He sends them out 2 by 2, like it's in the Bible. But the interesting thing is, in the whole series, James has like a limp. He has some kind of disability, some kind of thing. And in this episode, James is kind of struggling because he's like, I'm supposed to go heal people, and I'm not healed. So he goes and he meets with Jesus privately, and he says, like, he approached Jesus. He goes, Jesus, basically why I feel unqualified to do this. And Jesus is like, why? And he's like, well, because, I seen you heal everyone, but you haven't healed me. It's very touching because I think it relates to us, and where a lot of times, like James was basically saying, I want to do this, but God, why haven't you? Why haven't you healed me? And how many times as Christians, it's not easy to live for God. And we all know that. As a family, we've made God our priority from day one, and it's not easy to do that.
Yeah.
And sometimes we could feel like James, and be like, well, God, I've been living for you. Why haven't you fill in the blank.
Yeah.
God, I'm doing this for you. Why haven't you fill in the blank? It's something we can all relate to. So that just is just touching because you put yourself in James' situation, and it's just their conversation is so emotionally charged because
Yes. Yeah.
James is like crying. He's pouring his heart
Yeah,
out to
sobbing
Jesus.
like a little baby.
And Jesus is telling him why, you know what, James, I could heal you. And that would be a great story, right? And James is like, yes, that would be amazing. you know? And then Jesus, imagine the story if I used you and you healed people the way you are right now. And then James, it's just so emotional. I mean, I don't want to share everything, but it's so impacting. And what I think was so cool about that is it shows again how the writers and the producers they're filling in the blanks.
Yeah.
Because I can't find any biblical proof that James had any kind of disability or he was walked with a limp or anything. But I realized after watching that scene, I'm like, why did the producers do that? Why did they write that? I remember it was James who wrote in his book. I'm going to read it. I wrote it here in my notes. James chapter 1, verse 2, he wrote, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." So to me, it's just like that had to be there in a sense. It explains why James wrote that because he struggled with things. He suffered. He went through a lot of hardships so that he was able to write, "Count it all joy when you." So to me, that's just when I saw the light, I'm like, that's beautiful. They wrote that because of this. So it's just like I want to rewatch the whole show. I really do.
Yeah.
And I think we should rewatch it before season 4 comes out.
Yeah.
Because it's just, I think maybe the second time we'll get so much more out of it. But I don't know. I just think there's so much about that in the show. And I just think probably the biggest thing besides a single moment, because I could pick tons of scenes, is just the fact of how the disciples must have felt. You know, because I don't know about you all, but when I read the Bible, sometimes you read like, why did you doubt? You know, we see doubting Thomas.
Yeah.
You know, doubting Thomas, and Peter denied him, and Peter got his eyes off Jesus, and he sunk. You know, he should have kept his eyes on Jesus.
Yeah.
So we see all these things, and so we read the Bible, we could tend to criticize the disciples, be like an armchair quarterback, you know. And, well, they should have done this. He should have not intercepted. You know, shouldn't have done all these things. But seeing what they really went through, and it just, I don't know, for me, it ties it together.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. It's like, wow. And, you know, it just makes me feel really relate.
Yeah. And I would even add to that, like you said, because we tend to read the Bible and then we criticize and we're like, should have this, should have that. And I remember the first time we saw Judas in there, I was like, this dude. I was like, what? Because, you know, we know Judas as, we all know who Judas is, you know? And so it's just crazy to think and like see the part where he really was in love with Jesus and why he started following him in the first place. And so it's going to be interesting to see, obviously, the story unfold with him because obviously we read about it, but we don't know his character. Literally, we're getting his story. We're getting the depth. We got his whole family background already. And we see him like involved in the ministry and ready to expand. And he's like the main one in charge of like the finances and dealing and wheeling.
To follow Jesus. So, I mean, think about it. And then it's just, I don't know, it's stuff like that just makes everything relatable. Relatable, you know, to where, unfortunately, I know people that I think honestly loved God with all their heart, and for some reason or other stepped away. They walked away, and they're not serving God anymore. And so to see that in the Bible is just, I mean, in the show, it just, I don't know, it just hits home. It just hits home.
Yeah, and like I even said before, like you can really see yourself as the disciples, you know, because even in the TikTok clip that got you to want to watch it was his first preaching in front of the big crowd and everything. And what's crazy is he was working on that word for so long, but as he was working, this is really cool. When he was working on it, he was on the cliff, looking at the camp where his disciples were. And the entire time he was writing that message while looking at the camp. And when you watch, the episode, and obviously if you linked it in the description, you could see that as he's preaching, it hones in and like spotlights one disciple, because like Jesus wrote that part of the message for that one disciple.
So
and
deep.
I was like, oh crap, like, because then when you're seeing that and you see like Jesus was like very intentional and connected with his disciples, and seeing that, you can tell like, oh, that was for me, like you could pick something like, oh, I relate to Peter, that moment was for me. He wrote that for him. He wrote that for Mary. I relate to that. He wrote that for so and so. I relate to that. I thought that was insane.
Mary, her story is
her
amazing.
story is insane.
And then I don't want to spill the beans, but there's a scene where Mary backslides in a sense.
Yeah.
And she goes back. Now, I don't know if she actually did that, but it just showed how, how it's relatable for us. Sometimes people make mistakes and mess up.
Yeah.
And to see how Jesus drew her back, it's just, it's beautiful. I don't know.
I mean, no, that, because it's relatable. It's so relatable. There's, you could have an insane encounter. Like she literally, had the biggest transformation, and literally Jesus was the only one that was able to heal her and break her, let her walk in freedom. And so for her to even know the power that he has, know the anointing that he has, he loves her. She's traveling with him. She's watching, like he's literally her teacher. And, she's a woman, and he's letting her follow along. Even with that, she backslid, Like, it goes to show you can have the most powerful encounter and have, like, a strong relationship and still be like, crap, like I messed up, or something like that. And so, still relatable.
Yeah. And I like when you said about the women, it just reminds me how prominent the women are in the show. Yeah. And if you read the Bible talks about a lot of the women funded the ministry. And so you see that in the show. You see them, the one with all her jewelry and stuff, and she's got all this money. I just think it's great. It's very, very good. Anything you want to say in closing, add about the show?
In closing, oh my gosh, about the show. Well, I don't know. Well, I just wanted to add about the whole Mary story, how, sure, the disciples are freaking out where Mary was, and then they did, go after her. Jesus kind of stayed calm, though, because he knew she would come back, and she did go back. Like, it was her choice.
And that moment that they had in the tent, oh my gosh.
That was great.
Oh,
We've all had that moment where we're like, that's stuff. I didn't have faith in you,
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be like a sin, but it's just like you feel like you failed.
But all he said was like, well, you're back now. Yeah. He's like, that's all that matters. And he just hugs her. And I'm like, what?
Because he always,
so many things.
Yeah. Just watch the show.
Yes. I
just watch the show.
I'm just thinking of like Nicodemus. And
oh my gosh.
There's so many stories. It was so emotional.
There
may be a part two.
We might have to bring Mom in on part 2.
Yes.
Because I'm sure she has some great insights as well. Yeah. So, I mean, we can talk forever, and maybe we'll make a part 2.
I think we should.
But if you enjoyed this episode about us talking about The Chosen, just let us know. Put it in the comments. DM us on social media. You Good Life Now. If you're old school and do email, yourgoodlifenow@yahoo.com. You can find us there. And before we close, I want to let you know something very important about this is this show is 100% crowdfunded.
Oh,
which I did not know. It's 100% crowdfunded, meaning that they raised the money. People donated to produce the show, and it's so well produced. It's not low quality. It's a great quality production, and so we found that out. And we found out that if you give like a certain amount of money, you get your names in the credit. So I want to get my name in the next
in the credit or meet your favorite disciple. I'm just
kidding. I know.
Well, if you give a lot,
then you could go on set, which is pretty cool.
On set, which I want to do, but we would have to go as a family. And that would be quite a bit. But if y'all want to send us to the set, all you have to do is give us $25,000.
Or no, if you want to go ahead and share this everywhere, and we could get the producers to see it, and we'll go and do a podcast with the disciples.
That would
be sick. Let's do that, guys. Go ahead, share this with everybody.
Save your 25 G's. Just reach out to the producers. Say this family wants to go on set. That would be amazing because we love the show. my son, your brother,
Yeah.
the 14-year-old Zeke, he loves the show. I think Matthew is his favorite, and he'll probably tell you
Matthew's
why if he
pretty
gets
cool.
on here. I'm not sure which favorite is mom's, but there's we would love to go on there. It's just so amazing. But anyways,
So
it's,
share this with everybody you know.
yes, it's fully crowdfunded. So if you want to get on and watch it, the first season is 100% free on, well, they're all free, but the first season's on YouTube. So I'm gonna actually put a link in the YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm gonna put a link in the description to watch the full first season on YouTube. And then the second season is on Amazon Prime. And the third season we watch on the app. Or you could just download their app, which I'll put a link in there too. There's a Chosen app, and you can watch all seasons for free right there. So watch it, support it. If you haven't watched it yet, hopefully this was enough to get you to want to watch it. It's a very powerful show. Anything else you guys want to say?
No, you won't regret watching it. Like, it's not like your average Bible series because we grew up watching Bible series.
I know. Because it's from Veggie Tales to this.
Yes.
You know, this is the real deal.
This is it. Yeah, it's great.
Adult equivalent to Veggie Tales. You'll get addicted.
Okay.
And minister to at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
And thank you for being on the podcast, Cynthia. Thank you, Giselle. If you enjoyed them on the podcast, let us know. If you want them back on the podcast, let us know. I think it would be very cool.
Yep.
So as a family, guys, we want to say cheers to your good life.
Good life.
Thanks, guys. Bye.